President Biden will make his first trip to the Middle East since taking office.
Meeting with none other than Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, a man he once loudly condemned for ordering the killing of Saudi journalist and US resident Jamal Khashoggi.
The Saudis, they know they have some leverage when it comes to oil. There are a few reasons that we believe or speculate or know of that Saudis and the others have mainly refused to increase production. Some of it was they don't like being told what to do by the West. Some of it is that they do have a good relationship with Russia. Russia is benefiting from high oil prices. That helps it right now when it's under so many sanctions. These countries themselves, the Arab countries also are benefiting from high oil prices. They have to strike a really important balance though, because at a certain point, if you end up damaging the economies of the other countries that you're selling your oil to, then people are going to have even less money to buy your oil. China's a different question, though. If the US and the Saudis and Emiratis continue to not get along, then you're going to see Riyadh and Abu Dhabi move closer to China. And that is a major concern of the United States. And that's probably another reason that President Biden is going over there. The United States has been trying to switch to China forever. But I think what it's learning is that China's everywhere. And so if we're trying to reduce our commitments in the Middle East, China's going to try to fill that vacuum. Israel really wants to have diplomatic relations with Saudi Arabia. The broad goal is to set up a united front against Iran. They want the Saudis to join the Abraham Accords, which are these agreements that Israel has made with a handful of other Arab countries that have really expanded its ability to have friends in a region where it has a lot of enemies. If the Saudis feel the pressure from the United States, they'll be more inclined to join. But also at the same time, it's a situation where the United States will be doing a favor to the Israelis as well. So everyone kind of benefits. But the question of Iran's nuclear program is a different one. And what to do about that program, which is on the brink of a nuclear breakout closer than really ever, because the deal is basically dead. The Saudis, the Israelis, the United States, they're going to be talking about ways to counter the Iranian influence on nuclear and other fronts. It's not unprecedented for him to set aside human rights concerns in the interest of America's geopolitical interest, right? I mean, this is the same president who has said that, no, we didn't need to stay in Afghanistan to protect women, that it wasn't in our interest. He has very much a realist streak in him. He probably is doing it a little sooner than he hoped he'd have to do it. But Russia has kind of pushed him into that. It's important to note that the president is going to Saudi Arabia in the context that there's going to be a regional leaders summit there. So you're going to have a handful of leaders from Arab countries, including Egypt and Jordan, etc. So this isn't like he's just going and he's just going to meet with MBS. In a way, it kind of gives President Biden an excuse. As far as the Khashoggi killing, I'm sure we will be told that it comes up, but the Saudi Crown Prince might just shrug and say, wasn't me. Could the backlash that he's faced so far and perhaps a talking to he might get from Biden keep him from doing anything else like this in the future? I think that's probably the best people can hope for. This is the most peaceful that Yemen has been in 7 years. There's a truce right now. It has held for a couple of months and they recently extended it for another 2 months. I am confident that Yemen's going to be a major topic of conversation. I think there's a lot of hope the truce so far is going to hold and that there's momentum, but man, have I seen these things unravel so many times. So it's like, hoping against hope. One other thing worth noting is there's this massive oil tanker in the Red Sea that's been rotting for like 7 years. It contains a huge amount of oil and it could explode at any moment and cause a disaster that's 4 times as bad as Exxon Valdez. The US and the United Nations are desperately trying to scrounge up money to offload the oil and prevent what could be a massive environmental catastrophe. And so perhaps, if I was Saudi Arabia, I would be like, hey, we'll pay for all that. That would win them some goodwill. These countries watch US domestic politics very closely, and you definitely get the sense that they know that there's a strong possibility that President Donald Trump, who basically gave the Saudis and Emiratis whatever they wanted when he was in power, that he or someone like him could come back in charge in the White House. And so some of these moves that they're making, not doing enough to help ease the oil price pressure, that sort of thing, these things could damage Biden politically and bring Trump back to power. And it's hard not to think that they're not factoring that in. They will, of course, never admit to that because they say they don't interfere in American politics. They liked the transactional way that Trump and his aides treated them. These aren't democratic institutions. They are, for the most part, like princes and kings. And a lot of politics to them is personal. That being said, the Saudis and the Emiratis also were freaked out by the way Trump would at times bring the region close to war, especially with Iran. The Biden administration has no interest in another war in the Middle East. So these things all add up together. And I think the bottom line really is, look, the Saudis and the Emiratis, like every other country on earth, is looking out for its national interest. And sometimes that dovetails with what the US wants, and sometimes it doesn't.